Hey everybody, it's Brandy, and you are watching Abstract Crafter. In today's video, we have a very interesting experiment. We're going to figure out if I have found the perfect item to seal your diamond paintings and maintain the sparkle. We have a few set up, so if you are interested in what it is that I'm going to do, then just keep on watching and we will get into that as soon as I roll those intro credits. Hey guys, I wanted to pop in real quick before the video gets started to kind of give you some disclaimers. In this video, I am working with UV resins and two-part epoxy resins, so I don't use gloves or anything in this video. I know, not good, but make sure that if you are working with these, that you are using gloves to protect your hands. If you're sensitive to smells, make sure you're using respirators, maybe possibly safety glasses. Just don't do what I do. I don't wear gloves because I ran out, which is no excuse. I should have got some before I filmed, but I want you guys to be safe when doing this stuff. If you are under 18 and have never worked with this stuff before, make sure you are getting parents' permission or grandparents' permission or guardians' permission before proceeding. This stuff can stick to your skin, especially the UV resin. And if you're using a little mini torch, you're going to have resin on your skin, and it can burn, it can get very hot. So make sure that you're taking proper safety precautions. I wanted to get that stuff out of the way, so now have fun and enjoy the video. Why, hello friends. Welcome back. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm glad you stopped by. Today is going to be an exceptionally interesting video because it's something I don't know if it's even going to work. So I don't normally seal my diamond paintings, but I have started dabbling in accessories and I want to make sure that nothing happens to them. So if this works, then I will be able to seal this and not worry about stuff getting stuck on the stickies in between. I won't have to worry about them falling off. It's not a glue, it's not anything like that. And as you can see, this one is set up kind of crazily. I don't know if it's necessary. And we're also going to try it with squares. Normally squares are harder because there's not as much in between to catch. But what I have is I have a two-part resin, and I also have a UV resin. So we're going to try both and see if it matters. Now, as far as the two-part resin, we'll have to wait 24 hours to see how that turns out. But we'll get into all of that stuff and what kind of materials you'll need and all of that. So I taped these off so that we would have a clear line of separation. I most likely am not going to do the whole bottom, but I just wanted to make sure I didn't overdo it, and I wanted to be able to know exactly where I had laid the resin down. So these paintings, the reason I chose these ones in particular is, well, one, the drills do not want to stay down. They slide around. I am constantly having to fix them. I had to fix them twice before I even started filming. The other reason you might want to seal a painting is for reasons like this. If they have special gems on them and you're worried that they'll fall off or that stuff will get caught in there, because there's, like I said, there's a lot of space around the gems that could easily get stuff caught in them. You might want to seal them if you're framing them in a type of frame that doesn't have a protective covering on it. There's many reasons that people like to seal their paintings. That also helps with the longevity, as most companies only guarantee 5 years. Some will go all the way up to 20 years, but we won't know. And this just adds another layer of protection. So we're going to start with the UV resin, since the UV resin, I can immediately seal that. So I got this off of Amazon. I will link everything that I talk about down below, whether I got it from Amazon or the AB stuff came from Sophie and Toffee. You can get this also on Amazon. So everywhere that I can find it, whatever the lowest price I can find, I will link. These paintings, I most likely will not link because I don't even know if I can find them from the same company, and I don't even recommend them. You can watch post reviews on these for that. This one doesn't, the company gave out a bunch of free ones and now it just doesn't exist. So you can find similar ones on AliExpress if you are interested in the paintings themselves. But that's not why we're here. So I do have a little piece of paper in case the resin spills over. I don't really anticipate that. So I'm only going to aim to do half so that we can kind of get a good look. And I'm just going to squeeze right out of the bottle. I'll zoom in and all that stuff. And then for the AB resin, we'll do the same thing. I've never worked with AB epoxy resin, so I don't know how much it's gonna leak, if at all. So down here on the bottom, you can see that there's already stuff stuck in there. So obviously you're gonna wanna wipe them down before you get started. I just happen to have a nice wipe here, and these are just the original wet nap. So fragrance free. While we're waiting for that to quickly dry, I'm gonna get this open. I think it has a seal on it. Typically, you want to work with gloves for something like this. With the UV resin, you have an added component in which you'll need some kind of UV light. I got this one from Sophie and Toffee, but for bigger projects, I have used just a nail lamp, and I got this one for, I think, $20. So you can get miniature versions of this for cheaper. I will link some of these down below. I'll link this exact one and a miniature one that is just USB. If I can find a torch on Amazon, I will link it. Otherwise, you can get these on Sophie and Toffee, which I will also link down below. And if you order from Sophie and Toffee, I do have a coupon code for you. So make sure you use that to save yourself some money. Some people also like to have some kind of lighter handy in case there's bubbles, but I don't plan on putting down too thick of a layer. This is going to be very thin. Like I said, I'm going to aim for half. I also chose diamond paintings that I'm not particularly fond of, or that I don't plan on doing anything else other than experimenting on. So if you do this, make sure you test. Afterwards, I will take some pictures in natural light once everything is said and done. I'm going to put a nice layer down, and then I'm going to use a toothpick to kind of move it around, and you want to make sure you cover it before you use your torch. I'm going to use this toothpick to kind of manipulate it a little bit. The nice thing about UV resin versus the epoxy resin is you're going to get immediate results. And I ended up using enough to completely cover the drills, but if you didn't want to, you would just go a lot slower than I did and work in smaller sections so that it didn't completely saturate the drills. And I may just try to scrape it over a little bit just to kind of thin that out. I know a lot of you love sealing your drills or your diamond paintings, and the reason I don't is because I've never done it, and I worry about losing that natural sparkle that you get from them. But obviously I have nothing against people who do want to seal them. I'm trying to pull a little bit of that extra resin to seal along the edges. Resin is an amazing product too if you haven't worked with it. It's phenomenal. I've used it in lieu of glue for a lot of projects, and I've been experimenting with resin a lot more lately, making needle minders and cover minders and stuff. And so when I was working one day, I thought, my God, I bet that would work amazing for diamonds, because it has a natural shine to it as it is, and I'm just trying to move it out of the cracks a tiny bit. Just because the whole point was not to completely saturate, but I guess you can't really get away from that. Alright, I think that's pretty even. I'm just going to use my torch because this particular resin does immediately harden. And let's zoom in a little bit more so you guys can see that it is saturated a little over halfway. And this takes just a few seconds once you shine the light down. Like I said, I will provide pictures at the end of the finished product in natural sunlight, as that's a better way to see if it actually worked. Because my lights will overpower anything, and I just want to pull this tape off before it completely sets, as we don't want to have this become a permanent fixture. And it did seep a little bit back because I didn't properly tape that off, but if you were doing your whole diamond painting, you wouldn't need it to completely, you wouldn't have to worry about blocking sections off. But you want to make sure that you are working in a well ventilated area. This stuff does not smell good. It smells horrid, actually. You kind of get used to it once you've worked with it long enough, but I still kind of a newbie when it comes to working with resin. It's still a little wet, so I'm going to set up this and then get the materials necessary for the 2-part epoxy resin, and we'll see how that does. I'm also gonna knock over my torch, put a little tiny bit down on this one, and I realize I'm zoomed in, so none of this is really, there we go. I'm gonna put a little bit down on this. I'm gonna go top corner just a little bit, just to see what happens, and that way we can compare everything all together. And then when I do the 2-part resin, I'll just put a little bit over in this corner. I'm all set up. I have my 2-part AB resin, and I tried to just do a small amount. This is where you're going to get a lot of air bubbles. And when you are stirring this, you want to make sure you're scraping the sides, scraping the bottom, because you want that very well mixed or it won't set up proper. And like I said, there is tons of air bubbles, but you should stir slow. And most 2-part resin, it's going to be cloudy until it's completely mixed. This is crystal resin, so it's already very clear. So I just mix for, I don't know, a minute or so just to be on the safe side. And this stuff does need to set up overnight, so it will take about 24 hours. If it's different, it will say on your bottle, and this one does say wait up to 24 hours for resin to cure. So, and it does say mix A and B well till solution is clear. And as you can see, it's clear. I got these tools, well, not the pink thing, but from a resin kit, like the starter kit from Sophie and Toffee, so I will link that below, but you can get tool kits on Amazon as well. So that's about as clear as I think it's going to get. So let's go ahead and pour, and this has measurements right on the side that I used. So you could use like little measuring shot glasses or cups. They have those on Amazon as well. And what you could do if you wanted to be sure that you're only getting in between the cracks is it would be super, super tedious, but you could just take your tool and just run the resin in that way. It would take you a very long time to do that, and it's not guaranteed unless you have a teeny tiny tool. A toothpick might work that way, but I'm going to completely encapsulate this piece. And that's kind of why I marked it off a little bit there too, so that if I needed to cover this whole section, it would still have a cutoff. And this stuff is actually pretty easy to manipulate. It's a little bit, and it doesn't smell as bad as the UV resin. I may have done a little too much on this, but I've never worked with it, so I wanted to try both resins on this just to see what would happen. So in this case, I guess we will be completely covering. This would be, I think, the better solution for if you have bigger special gems, to make sure that they're completely encapsulated. If you have smaller diamond paintings, this would be perfect because it would act as a frame. But the thing that I'm curious about is, does it dull the natural shine that you get from these, or does it add an extra element? And I'm not terribly worried about the popsicle sticks getting in the way. At about the 12-hour mark, I will come and move those. So now I just want to take the tool that I stirred with and kind of make sure it's nice and even. There we go. So there's that one. We're going to let this set up overnight, let it do its thing. If you didn't want to get a light for the UV resin, you can let it set up in the sunlight. And all I'm doing now is I'm going to bring over this one without showing you the results too early of what happened on the UV side. And I'm just going to pour a little bit in there. Obviously, you don't need near as much of this stuff. And one thing I did is I added a little tiny bit of holographic glitter to the other side because I was curious. And then with the squares, all I did was I kind of ran my toothpick through to make sure that that got down in there, and then kind of moved the excess on the side and just gave the sides of those gems a nice coating. That's it. That's all we're going to do for today. I'm going to let these set up overnight, and I will come back and show you the results in 24 hours. Okay, friends, I just wanted to come outside really quickly in the wind to kind of get some sunlight on these to show you. I don't know what difference it's going to make. This is just the brightest light that I can think of. And obviously I'll be more in depth on these in the actual video. So I just kind of wanted to give you, you know, like a movement shot of it. And kind of, that's the 2-part epoxy resin there. And you can see that there's still some glimmer, but it does take away a little bit. And down here I added the holographic glitter, and I think that that helped bring back some of the glitter that you lose with adding the coats on there. And then over here is the UV resin, which I think is a lot more noticeable, but you still get a wet look sparkle to it as it goes through. And this one has significantly more glitter in it. Then I used a little bit less on this side when it came to that. And then with the snowman, this is the 2-part resin. And if we get nice and close, you can see a difference, definitely. You can tell that it's behind something. And then here we have just the regular UV resin. But obviously the drills aren't going anywhere. So that kind of takes care of the issue I was having on this one, whereas just a little bit of movement can pull those drills right out of place like that. So if nothing else, it helped to encapsulate them. But obviously I'll be able to show you better results. I just wanted to show you a little bit in natural lighting. So I'll let you get back to the regular video and let you know what I actually think of how everything turned out. I just kind of wanted to do like a little natural sunlight pan over, keeping in mind the resin is on that side, so maybe I should turn it. So we'll just do a little pan over because you can obviously see the sparkle, and then it kind of goes away when it comes to the resin part. Yeah, right there. So I will see you in the rest of the video. So we're back with a little experiment. It's been 2 days just because I didn't have time to record yesterday. So I'm going to start with the UV and show you the results. And I'm going to I'm a little bit zoomed in, but just for the sake of the process, I wanted to show you a little bit from a distance. And I'm going to zoom out so that you can see that it's, at least to me, it's not super obvious, where I laid the resin down, and it's only in this small corner. And then when we zoom back in, and this is at 2.5 times zoom in. So it's quite a way zoomed in. You can definitely see it here now. You can see that it doesn't really take too much away in the sense on the lighter colors. When you're really up close, you can definitely see it. And it's a thick layer of it. So it kind of adds a different element of shine to it. These are not completely covered. I can still feel the tops of them. They definitely don't move around anymore. And it actually, if you can see, stiffened up the area so it's not going anywhere. I can't bend that. Whereas over here, it's quite flexible. This I can if I want to crack it, but I can hear a little bit under there. But you can even see here where it was stronger than the canvas and it attached those. So it does work in that sense. You just got to make sure you get all the way down. That's where it leaked beyond my border. You know, it was such a good border. And then on the squares, now on here, I added holographic glitter to this section just to see if it did anything. And on the squares, you definitely notice it more, but you also get a different kind of shine from it. So where it takes away, it also adds. And I don't want to really give my opinion on if this is a good sealing method. That's something you'd really have to decide for yourself. So in between there is uncovered so that you could kind of see in between. So you can definitely see the glittering in between. And you can definitely, it's more uniform of a shine now. So up close on the squares, you can see how it's kind of moving. And then where I added the holographic glitter, it didn't really seem to do much of anything. You can see where the shine is moving through the different drills. And you're getting a little bit of a shine on those. But it does take a little bit away. And it adds something oddly enough. Let's move on to the 2-part resin. And this is the one where I accidentally mixed way too much and I had to do the whole bottom. And you can see here where it leaked beyond the borders. You can see there that it doesn't really seem to take away much as a whole, but in comparison, try to get you a half and half shot there. You can see that it's different. It's a different shine. And then from down here, you can kind of see it. So you get again, you get something. You lose something, but you gain something. And then on the squares, I'll get up close for you. You can see that it's a little bit shinier, it's glossier. And I don't know if it's because I used crystal epoxy. And then here is where I put significantly less glitter in this one. And it's almost undetectable. I'll get really close. I don't know if you can even really see it at all. I didn't want to add much. I think over here, I added way too much. I'll hold as steady as possible so you can see it. I added way too much. So I significantly cut back over here. And you can see even a little bit where it leaked down, where I scraped it down below. And then up here, it's just by itself. So when you move it back and forth, and you kind of do that wave motion, and these ones are almost completely covered. I can only feel the tops of some of them. Over here, it's the same thing. I do like that it fills in the cracks. I'm going to zoom back so you can see all of them. And then I'm just going to give you some final thoughts on the process as a whole and what I think. And let's just do this real quick because you know we got the top 2 corners. Now at a distance, you can kind of see the sparkle and the wave going through. So And then on this one, it's the same kind of thing, where in lighter colors, it's harder to pick it up. But with rounds, you really get that glittery effect. And I don't know if you're losing that with this method. But you also have to ask yourself for the reasons why you're sealing. Are you sealing to keep drills from sliding off like they are on this one? I pointed out that I can just simply do that. Just touch it a little bit, and it never really adhered. Where I have other diamond paintings that you couldn't move those drills if you tried. So the glue on these ones were just terrible. So I am really going to leave this up to you as far as if you think this is a good method. My opinion on this is, if I had to seal something, this is the way I would go, but I haven't tried anything else. And the reason I would go with this is because it is a more permanent solution. You're not adding another glue on top of a gluey canvas. You're also adding shine. So where it takes it away, it adds it, like I've been saying. And in the instances of where I would use this is exactly this. On these types of canvases where the drills just will not adhere to the glue no matter what you do. I've had a rolling pin over this many, many times. This one in particular, you can't see it, but when it's on a light pad, the gaps between the squares are bigger than you'd like. So with inconsistent drills, it's a big help, and it really helps seal in those gaps. But you are losing a little bit. You know, it's a shine as a whole versus each individual one being able to stand out. And that's really why I wanted to do this, is to see if it would allow the sparkle to come through. Now, in person, the camera's not picking it up. I see something different. In the case of the glitter, I think it adds quite a bit. It adds a new dimension to it, and with the 2-part resin, you get the added bonus of the holographic glitter in the background. You could use any color glitter. You could use a rainbow glitter. I went with holographic because of the color palette on this one. And how much you want to add is really up to you. This one, it's not obvious that there's glitter, and in this section right here, there is. So it's really your call. Another reason I might use this kind of a sealant is, and I haven't done it yet, and I'll update you in a future video if and when I do it, is to protect something like this. But with this, I would be more tedious, and I would maybe even use some kind of dotting tool or a pin or something just to guide the resin in there and go with small amounts. You can even use, let me grab it, I'm gonna show you another product you could use to help you. So this is a needle syringe, and the tip is hollowed out, and it's meant for when you're working with resin and you have shaker molds and you fill them with oil. So you could use something like this and just slowly feed it out through there. I haven't tried it. I don't know if it would actually work. I think it might work better on rounds than anything. But I think no matter what, you're not going to avoid getting it on the tops of the drills. So that's something to keep in mind as well. I would not recommend it on the journal just because it does stiffen the canvas. You can see where it stops bending right there. I mean, I could force it, but then it's going to pull, like right there, it's going to pull the drills off because now the drills are adhered together from the top and basically made one whole piece. So, I mean, you could do something like that and probably, if you're really good, have a brand new canvas. I mean, that's an experiment in itself, and I don't know that it's one that I will conduct, but you really probably could do the whole top and then peel it off and have a canvas underneath, as long as the resin didn't touch it. But it will, over here, it did pull the top coat off. You can kind of see the difference in saturation of the writing. So I'd be curious what you guys think down below, especially those of you that seal your diamond paintings. Is this something that you think is a good method? Is it something that you would try? You can get these materials pretty affordable. I think you can get them around the same price as you can get a lot of the other sealants that people have been fans of. Depending on the quantity, of course, and the brand and all of that. Let me know if you try it, if you've tried it, what your tried and true sealant methods are. Is there a different method you're curious about? Because I obviously have a bunch of test canvases now. Or is there something else that you would like me to experiment on canvases in general? And, you know, maybe if you guys want to see it, I will sacrifice my Green Bay Packer one and do a little experiment with resin on there. If I have enough requests down in the comments, if somebody else has already commented saying that they would like to see it, just give that comment a thumbs up, because then that'll put that comment to the top and I'll be able to most likely see it. Not that I don't see all the comments. I don't get enough comments that your comments get lost. So I'll also add a poll up at the top just in case you don't want to leave a comment, you know, so then I'll take both into consideration, comments and the poll. And if you would like to see an experiment in which I do it on one of these to see if it would work better. No guarantees that I would do a good job, but I could certainly try, so let me know. I am still working on something for my journal. I might even just resin around the edges and see what happens, but all of that, let me know if you want to see me experiment further with resin and diamond paintings. As far as accessories, let me know what other kind of sealants that you want me to experiment with. If there's something that you haven't seen a video for or you want to see more opinions on, let me know. So like I said, I got these experimental canvases now. All right, guys, with that, I'm going to let you go. Don't forget to subscribe on your way out. Hit that thumbs up button and hit the bell so you will always be notified when I upload videos just like this one. So have an awesome day. Have fun doing whatever it is that truly, truly makes you happy. I love you, friends, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.